Welcome back. The government is reaching out to players in the financial sector and the private sector, seeking to address key policy gaps that limit their participation in public-private partnerships. A report by a committee of experts comprising banks, pension funds, SACCOs and insurance firms, as well as government, has come up with a framework that seeks to diversify opportunities for the financial sector beyond government securities. As Jimmy Mbogo tells us, the new framework, if adopted by Treasury, will not only offer the private sector long-term investment opportunities, but will also reduce government debt as it seeks to embark on big development projects.
A committee of experts set up to explore ways on how the government can leverage on the local financial market for investment into public-private partnership has handed over its report to the National Treasury for execution. The report highlights key policy gaps that have limited private sector participation in the financing of public sector projects. Key among them is a lack of coherence and effective intersector coordination, inadequate project selection criteria, delayed payments limiting access to domestic capital, and low bankability, which has seen local investors remaining hesitant to participate without robust payment assurance.
I know we don't have a very good history of implementation. We come up with good documents and we don't implement. I want to promise you that some of us now where we are, we want to really be serious in what we do. In fact, part of this debt we have reviewed. We've been doing portfolio review, and we have seen that there are projects that we have taken up debt that and yet those have potential areas that could go for PPPs.
This agency will be able to actually raise funds both from local and domestic market and international investors. And that money will be then deployed into PPP projects which have been cleared and approved with adequate transparency, and the government will not necessarily provide sovereign guarantees as has been the past situation, but will provide the assurance of complete payment.
Should the National Treasury implement the recommendation from the Committee of Experts in the financial year 2025-2026, the private sector could benefit from viable PPP projects worth over 100 billion shillings, ranging from projects in transport, power generation and transmission, housing and health.
The world is going through a systemic change, a global reset centered on our financial systems. There is now consensus that the development will be funded by the private sector, not government.
No, there are many projects which are not in the budget, which would have liked to be in the budget, but we have not put. For instance, Nairobi, Rironi Summit Road. You know, even last week we had a nightmare. People stayed over 10 hours on the road. If we had the opportunity, we want to fix that road, but we don't have the physical space. But we know this is a commercially viable project. So this one we have put on the pipeline.
Now, the private sector is further proposing a formation of a structured vehicle to mobilize domestic and global capital, the PPP Implementation Trust Fund, fiscal reforms and risk mitigation mechanism to enhance bankability, structured public-private dialogue, and the strengthening of the PPP Directorate as one-stop shop for PPP delivery. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.